It's a boys' night out. No girls, no girls. It's a boys' night out tonight. Well, I'm gonna put that on the playlist, the podcast playlist. Hello and welcome to the Popcast, your weekly indulgence into the world of pop. Each episode we dissect a new topic and highlight our pop culture moments of the week, celebrating the genius of this genre in all its forms. The stigma around pop needs to change and we're here to tell you why. So whether you stand pop music, want to expand your knowledge, or you just want some light relief from the impending doom and existential dread that comes from modern living, we've got you covered. The term guilty pleasure is cancelled. So here we are. I'm with my lovely boys. How are we?
Hi.
So we've had a bit of a change of heart, haven't we? Because last week I did say that we were going to bring two of our fave pop moments to this week's episode. But then Ms. XCX came through with her quarantine album, How I'm Feeling Now. So we've decided to dedicate this entire ep to one of my fave pop stars on the planet. It's Charli Baby. Just thought, you know what? We've got so much to say. Let's just make it into an entire ep. We do okay this week?
I'm climbing the walls a bit, but
Yeah.
the sunshine is making everything much, much better. And I bought a bike. Join the bike gang, Tom.
Join the bike crew.
Yeah, although it is a bit too small for me, I've realised.
Oh, yeah. My housemate's got the same problem with the handles.
Really annoying, yeah. They're a bit too low down. So I had to meet this guy at Whitechapel, and I was like, and you know, when you see the listing and you're like, this is definitely nicked. And then you go meet them, and I was like, so why are you selling it? And he's like, oh, well, it's just, you know, I don't use it for college anymore. And I was like,
Oh, really?
yeah. It's like, you're literally middle-aged, you haven't been to college for years, but sure.
How much was it?
It's like 150 quid. It's really
That's
nice.
so
It's just like a... What?
That's really
That's
expensive.
good.
Yeah,
For
but
a
if you think
bike.
using the tube for a month is about £250 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
and
it's
the only thing is,
minging.
though, it's a no-logo one, so it's like got no gears, so everything
yeah,
is just...
it's
No
literally the
gears
same
at
as
£150. You've been taken for a ride, Ryan. Quite literally.
Literally.
Hey!
And how are you, Tom? Wallowing self-pity or...
Wallowing in immense amounts of self-pity.
That's what
Still
we like to
jobless.
hear. Aww. You need to get an OnlyFans, Tom.
I need an OnlyFans. I need to have not eaten as many carbs, and then maybe I would have thought about it. I have been asked a couple of times, actually. Fun fact.
Have you got an Only... Really?
Well, by
Yeah.
Mr. OnlyFans.
I can't reveal my sources, but I have been asked.
We are proud.
Very,
So, yeah.
very sexy, Tom.
I haven't done it because the level of disappointment would be so off the scale that I'd probably lose my account in a few days.
It's an awkward conversation to have with your parents, isn't it?
Yeah. But if anyone does have any things they want me to do for money, it is getting to that point. So I'm more than willing to. Please feel free to email in.
At the podcast.
Do some socially
It is-
distanced escorting.
So yeah, I guess that we should get talking about one of the loves of my life, actually. I think she is Miss Charli XCX. It's kind of crazy though, because she's kind of done a quarantine project and so have we. Like,
God,
she's
we're so
done the
similar.
album. She's done like a DIY album. We've done like a DIY podcast.
Is this where this has come from?
Yeah,
Is this
she's
where this all came
so-
from? You were like, well, Charli can do it.
No, but all seriousness, for me, she is a real vocal point of pop music. She is a major reason why I love pop music. I find her really exhilarating, really exciting artist. And And we just really wanted to give her a bit of love today, shine a bit of a spotlight on her and talk a bit more in depth about what, where she's from, how she works, and then get into a review of How I'm Feeling Now, which I've really thoroughly enjoyed, but we'll touch on that a bit later. So guys, what are your kind of thoughts on Charli? Why are we spotlighting her today, Ryan?
So for me, she's been someone that has completely changed her kind of image and brand in a kind of what seems to be quite a seamless way. I actually genuinely can't remember when I first properly started getting into her stuff. I think I started paying attention with the Number One Angel album, I think, is when I kind of started going, okay, this is a bit different. I think that was the real transition from her previous stuff.
Yeah.
And her going from the Sucker album into this, it was kind of, you could tell she was taking more of the reins a little bit more and having a bit more control.
Yeah.
And I mean, I listened to Lip Gloss and my world changed. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Yeah, I think that, and I actually still think to this day that is maybe one of my favourite.
So for me with Charli, I guess mine was kind of more like a live experience of me first properly going who is this?
Yeah.
Courtesy of Ms. Prothero.
Thank you.
So it was, I'd heard of her, obviously, but very much Boom Clap.
Which slaps? I actually love Boom Clap.
Yeah. No. Look, I am not here to criticise.
Is that the one it was for The Fault in Our Stars?
Yeah, I love that film as well. It's very sad, but it's a very good film.
So it was going Glastonbury 2016, would it have been?
Yes. Those
4 years
measure
ago?
into one, but I think it probably is around there.
Oh, it'd be 2017 because that's obviously when Pop 2 was out, so it would have been 2017. God, only 3 years ago. And we went, and it was in a really small tent. It was literally that for me. Charli was like that light bulb moment. I was like, "What is this music?" I was like, "Why have I not heard this before?" And then that's when Larry was like, "Oh, well, if you like this, then send you this and this and this." And but I think
it's like I'm a music dealer.
Yeah, very much. So.
You like this? Do you love?
Bit of Charli.
Bit of Charli. And I just think that's I think my story resonates with a lot of people in that sense, and I think what she's done on a mainstream level, particularly with Pop 2 and Number One Angel, those two albums, albums, mixtapes, whatever you want to kind of associate. She calls them mixtapes, right?
Yeah, I think they are.
I'm really unsure about that. And I'm going to sound like an absolute idiot, but the differences between mixtapes, albums, and then obviously EP and LP. EP is shorter, and LP is a bit longer, and then this is. I mean, I'm sure that I should know this, but out of genuine curiosity.
So what most people say, so a mixtape, and it's kind of actually, I prefer Charli's mixtapes than I do the albums. Right. Because so a mixtape is meant to be more like just a collection of songs, right? So the idea with calling something a mixtape is that it's much less about
a body of work.
A body of work.
A body of work.
It's not necessarily trying to say something. It's a lot more. So there's a sort of a real simplistic definition is it's basically a compilation of songs, where an album is kind of more. It will be more structured. There's a more concept to it. It's got more things to say. But for me, that's why I think I love those two mixtapes so much. Is because I just think Charli is best when she's just making absolutely irreverent, great, aggressive pop music that just makes you want to just jump up and down.
It's weird though. It's quite a fine line, because I would argue that Pop 2 and number one, Angel. I would say that they do feel conceptual, and they do feel. I feel like pop too feels like a packaged thing. I know it still feels like raw and it's different, but I feel like it's.
Yeah, I think it's difficult with Charli because obviously she had. I think you have to go back to kind of go forward, if that makes sense. So, in her earlier days, she had some really, really big hits. She had Fancy with Iggy. She had I Love It with Iconopop.
That was at number one in the US. That was number one in the US for 7 weeks.
7 weeks, yeah.
So she was kind of set up to become this big, big pop star. And she just took a bit of a change. So she kind of met with A.G. Cook, and then she obviously started with a Vroom Vroom EP, which is like so iconic. And then she moved on to those mixtapes. But she started the journey as a very different artist. There's kind of more of like an indie rocky feel to her earlier stuff. But I absolutely love Sucker. I love doing it. I love some of the songs on there. She kind of, on that
it's
album...
It's really like bratty. It's like bratty kind of...
Like posh school kid who's broken the mould, So she's kind of, I think with the mixtape, for me personally, what I feel she was doing was experimenting with a different sound. And I think that's what mixtapes do as well, is they're less formal than putting out an LP or an album. They allow you to sample new sounds. So you put them out, you kind of sense, okay, people picking this up, people like this. And then obviously she noticed, hang on a second, people are really responding to this. And, she said that she started out, she took a loan out from her dad, which obviously a lot of people can't really do.
Did she?
Yeah, that's actually how she started. So she actually took a loan from her parents. She's like, look, I really want to be an artist. And she was like, I will pay you back every single penny. And to be fair, she obviously has. But she started like forming, she actually got signed by a promoter, and they would take us like warehouse raves when she was like 14.
I read that, her dad would like sit in the car park.
Yeah, they'd sit in the car and wait for her. So she said that
Hackney,
when she was actually going to these raves, she said, I felt a really, really big connection with kind of the rave scene, the party scene, the LGBT community. She was like, it just made me feel really electric. But then when she was signed to her label, they kind of took it down a slightly different path. And only then, when she kind of went to Vroom Vroom, she met with people like AG and Sophie, that she kind of started experimenting with this different sound. So for me, that's why she's such a big influence in the pop industry and to me as a person, because I feel like she's just done so many different things. She's done so many different genres, and she does really well at all of them, but she can just do so many different projects and suit it. And
do you want to give us a bit of background on AJ Cook? I know a little bit.
AJ. So AG Cook is kind of
It was me trying to sound really like, I know what I'm talking about.
and the
I'm
Queen.
learning about all of these people. I'll get his name right.
So AG Cook is kind of the daddy.
I even had it written down and I read it out as J. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Well, you're learning, Tom. So AG Cook is the founder of a label, PC Music. So PC Music, interestingly, wasn't really a genre, it was a label, and there's no one actually signed to the label to this day. But about 4 or 5 years ago, he kind of found this collective of artists, people like Poppy or Hannah Diamond, who were kind of being a bit experimental with pop and pushing the boundaries. And I don't know if you guys have heard of Sophie. I know, Ryan, you've heard of Sophie, obviously.
Yeah, I've heard of Sophie.
Yeah, so Sophie is like major DJ, fantastic producer. Again, a big part of the PC music movement. And AG just kind of was doing SoundClouds and just doing kind of off-the-cuff releases. Again, not having anyone signed to his label, but kind of moving that avant-garde pop vibe. And then Charli met with him and started working with Sophie a bit on the Vroom Vroom EP, and then kind of started collaborating with AG. And PC Music is just a very avant-garde, extreme version of pop music. Sometimes it's not very structured. It's quite high pitch, high synth. It kind of feels like sometimes you can have like 4 songs in one, which sometimes with Charli, that's kind of what I feel. I think like, oh my God, I'm in a different zone of a song and it's only been like 2 minutes.
What about live experiences then? Because I think we should talk about that. I mean, I've spoken a little bit about it just from my kind of, obviously from when I first discovered her was live. But I think it's so much a part of why she creates the music is because she wants to create the kind of atmosphere or the party vibe that she does. Like, do you guys have like a sort of a live experience that kind of emphasizes that, or would you say that like seeing her live is such an important thing?
I was about to say, you know, looking at live performances and stuff, I think for me one of my top moments ever in live gigs has to be Pop 2, which obviously I love Pop 2. It's my favourite work of Charli's, and it was just electric. It just was one of the best nights of my life, and I'm not even joking. I went with a few friends. It was sweaty. It was like a rave. It was sexy. It was aggressive. Like, I've never been that out of breath. Everyone was just taking their clothes off. You know, everyone was just a bit wasted. It was just the fact that she was on tour with Taylor doing stadiums, which is a completely different crowd, a different setting, and then coming to like a rave and performing there just shows how much of a span.
What sort of venue was it?
It was Village Underground,
so
it was like a rave. Yeah, it was just like a rave. It was like, you know, I've actually been there for raves before. She had like a little merch stand, and it was kind of like she was an emerging artist, but obviously she's not. And you know, it was just incredible, and I was so sad because Ryan, you were in Cannes and you were meant to come.
I know.
And I was like devastated about
honestly,
that. I was just like,
genuinely was like trying to think of ways I could do it with my boss, where I could be like, okay, maybe I can just go out there a bit later and then just like catch up with work. But no, I had to miss it. Although saying that, the following year we did actually see her in Cannes, like physically. Like, she was just there. She was there partying. Shock. And I was really pissed, and we were going to dinner, or we'd just been to dinner. Yeah, because I was drunk. We'd definitely just been to dinner. And I saw this car pull up, and it just stopped in the middle of the road, and I was like, that's someone. And then she got out, and I just saw this like black bob pop out, and I was like, oh my God. And like kind of ran. I was just so embarrassing, kind of like ran at her and was like, oh, Charli! And I think I shouted something about Pop 2, and it was just like completely made no sense. And she looked at me and just like paused and went, oh, thank you, and then walked off. And I was like, oh my God, what a fucking idiot.
So if you guys had like any takeaway things why we've decided to dedicate a whole episode to Charli, what would you say is your kind of main reasoning for this, or what would you want people to kind of like take away if they haven't given Charli much thought
I think she's just, if you haven't listened, number one, she's fearless, she's eccentric, she is she works really hard. She's a real pioneer for pop music, and she's always changing it up. You never quite know where she's going to go, and she's super exciting, and you'll never get bored. You'll never get bored with Charli. Every piece of work that she does takes you somewhere. So I guess that's kind of what I would say.
I'm really excited to talk about this album because we've done quite well. None of us have spoken to each other about
usually,
what we think about this.
Me and Ryan would be like voice noting each other, sending each other every single thought. So yeah, I think
I'm quite excited.
Yeah, we should take a break, and then we should come back, and then we will go into her quarantine album, How I'm Feeling Now.
I'm excited.
Hi everyone, welcome back. We're going to be talking about Charli's quarantine album, How I'm Feeling Now. For those of you that don't know, Charli decided to do an album from scratch as lockdown began. It was released last Friday. It's primarily her, but obviously working with her longtime collaborative artist, A.G. Cook. And she's got lots of other producers on there as well. And the album just talks about how she's feeling now. It's predominantly about her relationship. She's quarantined with her managers, two of them, and her boyfriend, Huck. And yeah, we're just going to take a look into the album, take a look at each track, and just share our thoughts and feelings as we go along. So welcome back, boys.
Hi. Oi, oi.
I think it's really impressive what she's done in such a short amount of time. I don't know if you two feel the same, but I'm just really impressed
that she's managed to completely turn around and not. I think I would just crumble, to be honest. And the fact that
I kept thinking that I would just
there was
crumble.
a stage, I think it was like 2 weeks. The album was due in like 2 weeks, and she'd mixed and done and put out the 2 songs, and like had not. It's just amazing, like, because considering what the end product is like, I mean, obviously we're just about to go through it all, but considering the quality of it in that amount of time is astounding that she's managed to do that. And obviously she's probably had about 4 hours sleep in the past month, but it's paid off, sis.
Tom, how do you feel? How do you feel like her process has kind of worked?
I think it's very interesting. I mean, it is literally a world first. You know, she is the first person to release a full album purely from quarantine, you know, purely around this time, about this time, during this time.
She's never going to sit in and do nothing. That was my initial thoughts when kind of lockdown happened, and some people, there was talk that she was going to release unreleased songs like Taxi. And then I remember like everything on her socials went blank and she just had the whole emoji. And I was like, oh shit, like something's coming. And I just think it's amazing. I think the fact that she's just incorporated everything going on at this time, you know, from launching it from a Zoom conference call, it's just so relevant. And I think she's done something that's just never been done before. I think she's clever in the fact that it will be remembered for this time and it will have a huge historical impact on her work. I think she's shown that you don't need to spend months and months working on a project and get it signed off and have multiple videos, multiple things. It can just be a project and it can just be individually to the artist. So talking about that, shall we dive in to the album? Track 1, Pink Diamond. First of all, electric way to start an album. And I just think, you know, for me, I watched one of her Zooms, I think, when she did this, and she played the first like 20 seconds and I was like, oh my god, this is
She's great
so
at doing an album opener, isn't she? Like next level Charli kind of vibes. But I think when I first listened to it, I was a bit like, oh, I don't know if it was just the mood I was in.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a headache, but I listened to it and I was a bit like, oh god, right, okay.
Yeah.
But it's grown on me so much. I think it's maybe my least favourite on the album, but
your least favourite?
I think so. I think it's like chaotic and it's great and it's like, and I do like it. I just think on the like compared to the rest of the album, I think lyrically, I think it's one of the weakest.
Yeah. Tom, what do you think, love?
I feel like for me, it represents that pent up frustration I've got. Like this is like the longest around just like not being able to go out, not being able to just go and, you know, have drinks with mates and just be around people. And I mean, I'm clearly just an absolute trash queen. If you were to give that one a rating, what would you give it?
7.5.
That's an 8.5, 9 for me. That absolute banger.
I'm a 7.5 as well.
Yeah.
Oh, higher than I thought for you.
Yeah, I thought you were
going to I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
And you know what? The more I listen to it, the more I will enjoy it. Actually, do you know what? Considering I said it's my least favourite on the album, we'll go 7. I'll go 7. But I know it will grow on me more.
Okay, so it kind of flows from Pink Diamond into a very different aesthetic, which she goes into Forever, which is produced by Burton and A.G. Cook.
This has grown on me a lot.
Yeah.
I wasn't fussed by it at all when it came out, but now I think it's got quite quite subtly
Pink Diamond
catchy.
bleeds into it a little bit as well. I think the beginning is quite like the sound. It gets very PC music, but then it softens, and the way they kind of manipulate her voice, I think, is really lovely. And I think it's just a really cute song. And I think lyrically as well, like that I know in the future we'll see each other and I'll love you forever, even when we're not together. Like simple, but like really sweet and poignant for right now.
I definitely think for me it's a bit of like a modern love song. I'm obsessed with the 30-second outro it kind of builds, and I was watching her kind of creating this song, and AG sent her this bit at the end, and I just absolutely love it. Running my mind, you say, running from all of my mind. Absolutely loved that. And when I heard that idea, I was like, oh my god, I hope that makes the final cut of the song. And then it did, and she kind of put her spin on it, and I found that really exciting that I'd kind of heard that already and I'd seen that creative process that from AG's mind. What would you kind of give it out of 10?
This I'd rate as an 8, I think.
An 8?
I think it's good. Yeah, I think an 8, 7.5, 8, I think.
Right, what about you?
7.5, I think.
Yeah, I think I'd give this a 7.
You're not really allowed to kind of like relax into this album, I feel. It's not one that you can...
turns.
I couldn't settle into it. I couldn't work it out. And I guess that's kind of the point. And that's kind of what happens with Claws, right? What did you think about... What was your thoughts on Claws?
Claws is another one that absolutely like completely grew on me when I first listened to it. Because I remember you guys, we messaged in the group and were like, oh my God, it's a bop. It's so good. And I was a bit like... I just love the way it progresses and like the lyrics. I think the way the kind of... the beat, like how it goes along, and I think lyrically how each line complements each other.
Yeah.
This song could have been a minute 20.
Yeah.
It feels a bit more like an interlude.
But then I love, the more I listen to it though, the more I do love it.
Yeah, I love the breakdown at the end when it just breaks. About 158, I think around there or something, 154. It just breaks into this like supersonic, like trance club banger. And I'm just like, I'm absolutely here for this. I think I'd give it 6.5. It's not my favourite.
Yeah, I'd probably give about a 6 as well. It's like, it's needed in the album. It does what it's needed, but it makes no sense why you'd release it as a single.
I'm going to give it a 7.5. I actually, it has grown on me quite a lot. It really has. And initially I felt like felt kind of samey to Forever for some reason, and I don't know why, but it kind of, when I heard it, I was like, okay, right, I kind of know what the album's going to sound like.
And kind of flowing into, which I don't mean to open on a negative note, but I think it's my least favourite, is 7 Years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote boring, no change.
But you know what's so weird? This is my younger sister's favourite one, and she can't, like, she literally is listening to it on repeat, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, it's okay, but it's nothing to write home about.
I think lyrically it's just not the best. And I know she's literally done this in a month, but like, just the whole, like, you're really, really, really my type. Like, it's so just...
Yeah,
it's just unimaginative and it just doesn't do anything for me.
I also think it's a bit weird having those 3 songs in a row is quite weird, because I think if you're trying to get into an album, the first time you listen, it's like, okay, by track, Forever's good, Claws is like a bit weird but fine, and then 7 Years you're just like, oh, like the first time you listen, you're a bit like, what? No. 4.
Wow.
God, that's quite shockingly low. I think I'd give it a 6.
Yeah, 6.
Moving on.
For me, moving on into the second half of the album, I do feel like this is a better half of the album.
Yeah.
So Detonate is my probably second favourite.
Agreed.
It sounds a bit like you're a Mario Kart. It sounds like a tiny bit like a video game.
I love it.
But it's just so catchy. I really like the repetition. I love how I feel like she is really expressing how she is feeling at that moment.
So this was produced... so I was listening to Candy Shop last night, and this was actually produced before lockdown, and this is the first song. This was actually when the producers met for the first time.
Oh, cool.
Interesting. No, I love it. I think it is one of those, like, it's proper PC music. It's really bloody catchy. And I think lyrically it's really sweet. And also it's one of her, like, really kind of honest and open look at her feelings and her like self-deprecation, and
she obviously struggles to I think lyrically she kind of like points out that she's kind of fucked him over a few times. Yeah,
I think I'd give it a solid 7. It's a nice song, it's a great little track, it's nice. I think about like chilling in the garden, like just kind of switching off from it. I do really like it, so I'd give it a 7.
Solid 8, I think. Although I'm tempted to put it down to 1 because last night this is what I had in my head and I couldn't sleep for about 3 hours.
I'd give it an 8.5. It's one of my favourites.
And then that going into Enemy.
I like it. I think it's... Do you know what's so weird? So I was listening to it again. I was making my notes. And I kind of had in my head a bit of a preconception. I didn't like it for some reason. But I kind of like the synth, you know? It sounds a bit old school.
I think it's the most grounded and it builds.
Yeah.
I really like that of the album, though. I think it's pretty grounded and... But I love the synth, so good. And I love the voice memo bit at the end, like the voice notey bits that kind of come in between, that break it up and then pick it up again. I think, it's great.
So what would we give out of 10?
So Enemy I'd give an 8. I really like it.
8.5, I think.
Oh, Ryan, you're surprising me with the ratings. I think I'd give it a 7.5. Takes a different shift again. We then go into I Finally Understand, which is my favourite track on the album.
Is it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Is it?
Yeah.
I honestly, because this was one of the singles, wasn't it? Like the last single to be released.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, it kind of went over my head a little bit, and I didn't really listen to it as much as maybe I should have. But I really, really love it. I think lyrically, it's one of the strongest. I think we're going full like UK garage at the beginning. It's
so good.
It's great.
It kind of reminds me of it, like the old school Daniel Bedingfield, like in his room. Like,
it's like UK garage, drum and bass,
garage,
like,
D&B.
Yeah, it's got kind of like a liquid drum and bass feel to it. And again, it's that whole thing with being in quarantine is you kind of have that long period of time of feeling a bit lax and a bit of a lull and just a bit like chilled out. And then suddenly like this just pops in. And even though it's not like a huge burst of energy, but that change of tempo, it just kind of comes back up. I love this. And again, same as you, Ryan, I didn't give it much thought individually. I think it's more powerful and resonates more as part of the album.
For me, I'd give it a 10. I'd give it a 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a 9 for me. 9 for me.
I think, it's a 9 for me.
So C 2.0.
Click, click,
I wrote, what is this?
You knew it was Click though, right?
You know it's a remix.
Oh, well, do you know what? I'll be brutally honest. I didn't get that first time.
Did you not?
No, not at all.
So it's a remix of Click from Charli.
Yeah. Now you've said it. I literally hear it straight away.
And then it breaks into her kind of current take on it, obviously talking about how she's missing her friends and stuff, how she's missing her Click, which I think is very clever. However, I do feel this is a bit thrown together.
It absolutely does not need to be 3 minutes and 40
No.
seconds.
It's a bit... Yeah, it's a skipper, isn't it? It's a skipper.
Gives me a headache, love.
I think I'll probably give it about 6.
It's a 5 for me.
I'd give it 5 on its own, but then as part of what it's trying to do for the album and like that frustration it makes you feel, which is very kind of an emotion that you are feeling at the moment, I would almost put it like as an 8.
Wow.
I just can't work out whether she's doing it accidental or on purpose. So that's why I feel she's either being a genius or it's really annoying.
I think the latter. I genuinely do think, if we're being completely transparent, I think this is something that she's maybe wanting to do for a while, or she had a bit of a play around with it and she thought,
yeah, she definitely had on a doc
so I've got a week to go, I'm going to stick it in.
Yeah. And for one song which goes on a bit too long to actually the longest song, what did people think of Party For You?
I like this song. It's grown on me. I really like this. And I just feel, again, it's just like AG and Charli in the room. And you can kind of feel that when it's just those two on the record.
I think this is a song as well that's been around for a while. I don't think this is been one that she created straight away, or she created it earlier, because it's been... I think I've seen versions of it around.
So she's reworked it a bit then.
I think it's in a similar vein, I think, to Thoughts. I think in a similar, like, it's that kind of reflective, like, it feels like kind of ballady, but like a bit more like at the after party kind of vibe. But it's still quite warm. I don't know, but I mean, I love Thoughts. I feel like it's kind of like that, but not up to the standard of that.
Yeah, Thoughts slaps.
God, I love Thoughts. It's such a good song.
I think I'd give it about a 7.
Yeah, I think a 7 as well. I could imagine listening to this, like, coming back from a night out.
Yeah.
Like, just having this, like, when we come back from a party or something and you're kind of all just sat in the living room, like, not, like, and you're just, like, having sort of a chill after you've been out. So, yeah, 7.
I think a 6.5, I think.
Fair. And then it goes into anthems, which is, I think...
Yes! Yes!
Which is, like, the most obvious bop. Like, is a bop on the album.
10,
it really
10,
does.
10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10.
Obviously, Tom's favourite there.
This song.
Do you like it, Tom?
Yes. Oh my god,
What do you like about it?
For me, it's the one. I can't believe she hasn't released this as a single. Like, I just think this as a single would be huge because the lyrics are so good. It's so just black and white, just talks about everything that's going on. I related to this song so much. Talks about all of the, procrastinating.
Yeah, I like how it's very reflective lyrically of what is really going on. And I really like the fact that, it literally is just what she's trying to do or what most people are trying to do in their day-to-day life. Again, the production does capture that frustration as well. I think that people are kind of feeling as well. And it's a bit brash, it's a bit harsh.
Yeah. I have this like montage in my head when I listen to it of like, it's like you're in a really shit Zoom call for work and you're just like staring out the window and you're like, what has my life become? And this is what's going on in your head and you just want to flip the table, like smash the windows and just like run out of your house and just like run away. She's perfectly captured that fucking like, just that climbing the walls feeling and just that like, oh my god, another day of being inside.
I mean, it shows for me, like, my top songs are like Pink Diamond and Anthems. Like, I'm full trash.
You're a rave chick, love. Yeah, I'd give it a 9.
Yeah.
I'd give it a 9.
That's a 10.
10!
10
Wow.
from me.
Oh, yes, right. Well done, we're in.
100%. It's my favourite, definitely favourite off the album.
And then we finish with Visions. I love Visions. I just
It's
love
very
it.
Charli.
I really like that. It's just a bit fucking nuts.
The vocals The vocals are very Charli.
Yeah, it's like authentic Charli. It feels quite DIY, feels quite unfinished and a bit messy in structure, but I really like it.
I think it reminds me of Number One Angel. Like it would be on...
that like kind of like chaotic.
It's very Number One. You're so right about that. It is. I really like this song. I really like it. It's such a strong finish having these two on.
Yeah, I think it's a really strong finish. You know, it just closes. It feels very like finale, doesn't it?
Well, Visions I'd give an 8.
8.5.
I'm going to give it an 8.
So overall, the album, what, you know, not to compare it too much to other works, but, you know, how do you feel? Do you feel like it's going to be one of her best works? Do you think that it's better than other things she's put out? How do you feel about it?
I think it's probably, as an album, I think it's one of the most kind of cohesive pieces that she's done. And it's got I think actually a couple of her strongest tracks that she has done in a long time, I think. I think she's done well. I think it really cements her as someone who has done like a weirder style of pop or a more alternative pop. I think it's kind of really cemented her kind of on a broader scale, and I think it was a really clever thing to do at this time. And I think it's a good album to show that, because it's something it definitely puts her front and center, and she she doesn't have all the collaborators on there, and so it does a good job of just putting her like front and center as an artist, and also like an innovator in creating music and songwriting. So I would say that she's fucking smashed it, I would say.
I think it's kind of cemented her as that person, as like she will think outside the box and be like, you know what, I'm going to do an album in a couple of weeks' time and it's going to be recorded in my house. And I think it just confirms to people that she's very creatively in control of what she does. And the fact that she has pulled this together in such a short amount of time, I just think will stay with her for a long time as an artist. She will be remembered as someone who managed to do it and put out, like as you said, a really cohesive piece of work. I think it is one of my favourite projects. I really, really enjoy when she just pushes the boundaries a bit and she's not very safe. I think she does that really well in this album. I think there's also notes of where she possibly may be going in the future. I think it does sound, there was elements of it sounding slightly more mature. Her lyrically, she's getting more open, and I really like that about it. And I think, I'll just be forever grateful for her for kind of doing a new process where she involves people. She's more open with her process. She gave us something to really look forward to in this really like horrible time. So I think that in itself really pushes the album to one of her best works. I don't know what you feel, Tom.
Yeah, I think that this puts Charli on a different level. I think she is really seen as an artist now. I think this is a very artistic album. I think it's very experimental. I would when I think about it, it would be something that you would kind of put in the Tate Modern if this was actually like a piece of art. So I think as an overall album, like if we were to do like, I don't know, like the star ratings like most of the magazines do, I would probably give it a 4.5 or a 5, just purely on just how artistically pleasing it is and just what she has been able to produce. Yeah,
I'd give it a 4.5, 5. And I actually think these songs will grow on us over time. Even I think that something has to be, we only got this on Friday, and I think it's just really put her at the front and centre of a creative artist who makes her own decisions. I think from this, people will respect her and look at her in a very different way. What do you think, Brian?
No, I think, can I give it a mark out of 10? Because I feel like I wouldn't give it a 4.5. I would give it 4.5, but I feel like an 8.5 out of 10, like, is where I'd go for.
Feels better for you.
It just makes me more comfortable, love. I think she's done such a good job with it, and considering like 30 days, like it's just unreal to do that and to put all into it. And I think she has produced something that is quintessentially Charli, but also it's just so relatable to everyone right now and how everyone is feeling.
Amazing. Well, that's kind of our take on
that was cool. That's like the first time
really
cool.
We've done our first review.
I feel like I've been through a bit of a therapy session, to be honest.
It
was going to be... I think we should decompress for a minute and then we'll come back and finish it off.
Yeah.
Cool.
I just want to point out a few things that we got review-wise of the episode. Thanks so much to everyone who's messaged in and let us know what they're thinking, and to the person who really enjoyed our prep chat. I've got some fellow prep
The true
lovers out
content
there.
that matters.
Yeah, thank you for not actually caring about the main body of the podcast, but about the
Prep chat.
expensive high street food shop in London. So we want to hear from you about what you think about the Charli album. So if you could message us on our Hotmail or DM us on Instagram or tweet us your fave tracks, your ratings. We'll then have a look through and we'll be discussing it on one of our podcasts, hopefully next week. So yeah, just please do remember, you can review us on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much to people that have already done that. We really, really appreciate it. And
thanks, Mum.
Download us from Spotify. Thanks, Mum. And we do have a playlist for the people that are messaging me saying you should get a playlist. We've already got one.
We're updating it regularly, and there might even be a couple of tracks that we don't necessarily discuss on the show, but it'll be from artists that are kind of synonymous and similar to the ones that we have discussed, and just maybe some undiscovered bops that haven't quite had the recognition they deserve, but make for perfect listening in the sunshine.
It will be available on Apple Podcast as well as Spotify.
Send us in your Charli reviews. We really actually do want to hear them. Just a reminder of our social details. If you do want to follow us on Twitter or Instagram, it's at the Bopcast. We're really proud of our socials. They're looking pretty good. And if you want to email us, it's thebopcast@hotmail.com. So yeah,
another one done. We'll have done this for after next one. We'll have done this for a month.
I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you for listening. We love you, and we'll see you
Goodbye. Stay safe. Bye. 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 Bye.
Stunning that.